Q&A section where you have opportunity to ask questions, and then you get appropriate answers to your questions, and you can also make comments using the chat button, and you can also invite some of your friends who are around you to join in so that they can also benefit from what you are about to hear today. I welcome you all to this webinar. Thank you very much. I would also like to say that the things that you will learn today are things that you will use for life. So I will implore you to kindly take it, as seriously as possible. Thank you very much. In a very short while, our facilitator will be coming up. And this is also to give an opportunity to others to join in and also do a recap of what we had last week. The recordings of the last week's teaching or webinar is on the YouTube channel. We'll be giving you information about this during this session, immediately after the session. Thank you.
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Glad to be here. I just arrived in here and I started to send some chat messages. Let me be sure that I have everyone here. So if you're here, can you just click the raise hand button just to confirm or use the chat section? Oh, great. Awesome. 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 So good afternoon, everyone. For those who are not in Nigeria, whatever time zone you are in, whether in the afternoon, I'll just use the word hello to cover up for the timing or the time zone. So I think we'll just start now. Mrs. Agumadu, thank you very much for helping to give us a welcome there and an introduction. I'm deeply thankful for that. Um, so I think we should just go ahead and start. Mrs. Agumadu, have you guys done like a recap of what we did last week?
Yes, yes.
Perfect, perfect, perfect.
Yes,
So,
I have. Good afternoon, sir.
good afternoon. Okay, so I think I should just proceed with today's on. So good afternoon once again, everyone. I'm glad to be here. I hope you learned a lot from the things we did last week, and I hope that you are doing something with the things that you learned also last week, because it's not just about having a session like this. The real core essence of this particular program is as expressed in what the series is about. So the mission of EduStart is basically to cultivate high-growth entrepreneurs. So Africa is a place where we have lots of issues in terms of the economic status and well-being of a lot of people. But despite such limitation, there are opportunities because where you have the biggest problems is where you have the biggest opportunities. And so what we're trying to do is to help to align a lot of people to begin to view from the entrepreneurial perspective so that they can employ the problems that we have in Nigeria and Africa as a whole and use them as opportunities to create prosperity. And everybody wins. I mean, think of it, a lot of people, come in from outside Nigeria to do business in Nigeria. And Nigerians are kind of like wanting to leave Nigeria. So why are people coming in? What are they seeing that Nigerians are not seeing? What are they seeing that Africans are not seeing? So the essence of this particular webinar series is to help to improve our capacity to cultivate high-growth entrepreneurs, help you view things differently, and also seize the opportunity and advantage of building something meaningful with your life, because each of us will have the capacity to do things and to do great things with our lives. Also, interestingly, is to be able to cultivate, high-growth entrepreneurs that will create multi-billion-dollar businesses in Africa. That is also expected to translate into creating opportunities, employment opportunities, business opportunities, market opportunities in Africa as a whole. So I'm hoping that this session will help to cultivate such levels of personalities and entrepreneurs. Whether you are working as an entrepreneur, start your own company, build your own company, or an entrepreneur in an existing organization, because both are actually possible. Because it will be good to withdraw yourself from the whole picture because you think you've not started your own company. You can actually become an entrepreneur while you're still in an existing organization. So last week we looked at finding yourself, and I also remember introducing the Smart PC, and I hope you guys have started putting that to work and practicing that, because you have to find yourself. Many things, are tied to that. Your courage can be found in that process. The direction you're headed to is found in that process. The resources that you have and how to start what you have from where you are also start from that process. And so it's crucial for you to master that. That is key. And I would like you not to miss any segment of this series. We are not charging for this particular webinar. It's actually made available free. What we get in return is what you do and make out of it. We'll be excited to have iGood entrepreneurs build multi-billion-dollar businesses from here. And also, the privilege to become equity holders and shareholders in the companies that have been born out of this particular process, because our vision is big. We believe we can solve the world's problems through entrepreneurship. And so we invest a lot in making entrepreneurs by showing the way. And what I've been sharing from last week, which will continue today, is actually things that have been proven. I've proven them for 10 years. I've been cultivating high growth entrepreneurs, and many of them are doing great and exceptional things. Thankfully, we've seen pros and results in that, and so lessons from that are the things that I've packaged and we'll be sharing in this webinar. And by the time we get to the announcement section at the end of this particular webinar, I will also be showing you how you can gain access to my book on this particular subject, which is called How to Start Rich, Becoming a High Growth Entrepreneur. From that, you can also get some other details that can help to scale the things that you're doing. So today, building on what we did last week, we looked at finding yourself. Today, we'll be looking at something really interesting, which is basically on developing the entrepreneurial mindset, right? So this is what we'll be looking at today. I believe everyone can see the slides. If you can use the chat section just to confirm that I can see that you can see the slides. You can see what I'm sharing. Can you just put something okay there? Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you. You can see the feedback there. Thank you. So I can proceed then. So developing the entrepreneurial mindset, this is really, really crucial, really crucial. So you found yourself, what next? This is next. Developing the entrepreneurial mindset is next. And I hope you get this aspect of it. So let's proceed here. I'll be covering the following, the introduction, looking at it, the entrepreneur as a factor of production. We'll also explore some facts on what the mindset really is about. We'll also look at the high growth entrepreneur, how he thinks, and also to show how he thinks at the highest level. We'll also explore the entrepreneurial mindset, and more importantly, how to develop the entrepreneurial mindset, and then we'll cap it up with a conclusion. So that's what we'll be looking at right here today. All right. So by way of introduction, this is it. Let's start with this quote of mine. Your transformation depends largely on your mindset, not really your outside circumstance or environment. In fact, your transformation begins from your mind. And what I just explained to you is the absolute fact. Everyone who is causing transformation, whether on his life or the lives of others, who has done something remarkable, knows this. Your transformation depends largely on your mindset, how you think, what you think. Your mind is the fabricator of your life, and everything you will end up becoming begins with your mind. And so it's crucial for us, if we're going to make entrepreneurs, particularly high growth entrepreneurs, the next stage after finding yourself is how to develop the mindset of the entrepreneur, how to develop the entrepreneurial mindset. So let me just buttress on the introduction today by exploring from a particular viewpoint or angle. And I'll start from the known, then we'll begin to delve gradually into the unknown here. So I believe everybody has like some idea about what the factors of production are, which I'm aware is also being taught at various levels, whether at the primary or the secondary level there. And as a result of that, we have seen some interesting things happen. So say, for instance, we hear that there are 4 factors of production: land, labor, capital, entrepreneur. And from these four, there is one crucial factor there. I consider there are five actually because I added the fifth one, which is called knowledge. So knowledge is, because when knowledge economy, knowledge has become a factor of production used and necessary to create wealth and prosperity. Okay. Um, if you can you just give me like, kindly give me roughly about 30 seconds. Apologies for that. Needed to address a few things. Um, I want to believe you guys can still hear me and you can see me. So let me just continue. Considering that we have five factor production: land, labor, capital, knowledge, and entrepreneur. There is one factor there which organizes all the other factors, and that's the entrepreneur as a factor of production. So what makes the entrepreneur really important? Land in itself has no value except somebody goes there and makes sense out of it. And the person who does that is the entrepreneur. Labor in itself is not scarce. There are many persons who are smart, bright graduates who are unemployed because there's one of the factors of production who has not employed that labor. And that factor is called the entrepreneur. Capital is also available. Money as capital, equipment as capital. The entrepreneur is one who employs capital to create fortune out of it. Knowledge is also available. We have lots of persons who do research and they put them on the shelves. But we need entrepreneurs to employ such knowledge to create new products and new wealth from such process. So position yourself as the entrepreneur here. Your job is to employ land and make sense of it to create wealth, to employ labor and create further wealth, to employ capital to create further wealth, to employ knowledge to create further wealth. And there are examples that we give from this. New products are created from knowledge. Siri was bought by Apple for roughly about 200 million US dollars. And it was just the product of a research work in Stanford University. Google as a product, Google search as a product is was born out of the research project of Larry Page and Sergey Brin. That's knowledge. There are smart people who are on the streets who need to be employed. There's lots of money in Nigeria and Africa, in case you don't know, lots of money available, so much that people can steal out of such, and corruption can thrive. Why? Because the shortage of entrepreneurs that we need to employ those funds and capital to create more prosperity and to create more wealth. So many things that we think are not available are actually available. We just need the guy that employs them to create further wealth from them. So any society where you see that we have rising level of wealth and employment, it explains that the factor of production, the entrepreneur who is responsible for employing labor, he's in short supply. I'm not saying that we don't have people who start companies and do that. I'm using the word entrepreneur, meaning the person who is actually doing it, not the person who's just carrying a complimentary card or just has a platform. No. And that's why I use the word high growth entrepreneur, because there are many persons who have started things who are not actually building things. And I will show you in the course of this series to explain exactly what entrepreneurship is and what entrepreneurship is not, and how we can use that to begin to build things, and why you should be one, and how we can build the future from that particular process. Now let's look at the entrepreneur's viewpoint. The entrepreneur is a creator. He's a producer. He creates things. He produces things, whether it's a product, whether it's a service, whether it's a software. Um, and the idea is to solve a problem. So what the entrepreneur creates is what people want, not just anything, because he has a motivation. The motivation is a reward in some way, whether it's profit, whether it's market share, whether it's some form of equity or valuation, or improvement in the valuation of what he or she is building. So there's a motivation. Entrepreneurs are driven by their motives, their desire to earn something or reward in return. The entrepreneur's playlist basically is what he does with the other factors of production that he creates. For instance, he employs land to create wealth from it. He employs labor to create wealth from labor. He employs capital to create wealth from capital. He employs knowledge to create new products that will lead to new wealth. So it's basically a creator. He creates things. He employs people to create things. He employs lands to extract something from there or to build a workspace to make things happen, right? He's literally a producer. That's what he does. So everything on the entrepreneur's mind aligns with his identity as a creator, right? And this is expressed in what's been thought. That is what he or she thinks and how he or she thinks. So what we can call mindset can be categorized and expressed as what you think and how you think. Not just what you think, but what you think and how you think, because how you think matters. Um, and that can be expressed in how you view things and how you see problems. Like many people see problems and they complain about it. Very few persons which have the entrepreneurial mind see problems and see them as opportunities that they could take advantage of. So someone sees something going on and complains about it. Another person sees it and views it as an opportunity to make a fortune, and to create prosperity and to create wealth. So it's the entrepreneur's mind views problem as an opportunity to create a solution, and also views it as an opportunity to create prosperity in the process. So it's basically about what's been thought and how it's been thought. Now let's reflect just for a moment on what will happen if we don't have shortage of entrepreneurs. Mark my words, please. When I say entrepreneurs, in this case, I'm referring to the high growth entrepreneur, not just anybody who has started something, because we have lots of persons who have started some things that I wouldn't consider entrepreneur because they are not creating prosperity. They're not creating opportunities. They're not creating value. They're not creating wealth. They can have complementary cars, they can have websites, they can have a number of things, but they, in their knowing, know that they are not creating solutions and they're not creating prosperity. And that's why I would like to clarify that. I think it's in the next series that we're going to be clarifying what entrepreneurship is not, so that we can, make that really clear and begin to build and advance from there. So what will happen if there is a shortage of entrepreneurs? Let's think about it. If there's a shortage of entrepreneurs, what will happen to the other factors of production? What will happen to land? What will happen to labor? Obviously, we can see in certain societies, Nigeria inclusive, there's rising level of great unemployment. Why? Uh, because there's a shortage of entrepreneurs. How will prosperity be created if we have a shortage of entrepreneurs? People are poor because certain persons are not creating prosperity. They are not creating wealth. They are not creating value. They're not creating opportunities. So we need people who can create those things. And this category of persons are entrepreneurs. And anyone can become an entrepreneur, as you'll see in this particular series. So what will happen if we don't have adequate entrepreneurs? Well, there will obviously be unemployment, prosperity level will be low, and economies will not advance. So we advance economies by making entrepreneurs, supporting entrepreneurs, and enabling entrepreneurs. And this can happen at various levels, whether at the individual level. For instance, you can advance your own life by becoming an entrepreneur and creating wealth and prosperity. You can advance your family by becoming an entrepreneur to create wealth for yourself and for your family. You can advance your nation by becoming an entrepreneur to contribute to the rising level of GDP or gross domestic product of your economy where you reside. You can advance the world's economy by contributing your own quota, right? Look at the wealthiest persons we have in the world today. All of them are entrepreneurs. All of them are entrepreneurs. Every single person that can consider a billionaire today is an entrepreneur. So entrepreneurship is one of the fastest vehicles to which prosperity can be created. And what we are doing here is to help you to become a high-growth entrepreneur, building from the ground up. And that's how we started with finding yourself, and now we're looking at how to build the mindset of the entrepreneur. So let's explore some facts just to give us a foundation on what the mindset of the entrepreneur is. So I'll be showing with these facts the importance of the mind, the importance of the mindset, and why it will affect many things that you will become, and how what you will become depends largely on what you think, how you think, the state of your mind and your mindset, right? Now, note this: whatever you keep looking at, you keep looking like. So what you pay your attention on the most is what you end up becoming. What you pay attention on the most is what shapes what goes on in your mind and how you think, and what ends up becoming your mindset. And then you keep looking like that. Um, and that's why if you don't protect your mind from what your environment is, in case your environment is the kind that you are not personally proud of, you'll soon start reproducing what the environment looks like. You've heard the saying that he that walks with the wise shall be wise. If you hang around with wise people, long enough, you end up thinking like them and talking like them. Uh, what you keep looking at most of the time, you keep looking like. Now, your dominant consciousness will end up becoming your reality, and you can't escape from it. What we call imprisonment actually begins from the mind. And psychologists have proved that quite a number of times. And I need to explain this because of the importance of what this is about. Because if you're going to develop the entrepreneurial mindset, you need to understand how the mind works and know how you can debunk quite a number of things from your mind, and know how you can retain some valuable things in your mind, and also invest plenty of valuable things in your mind, so that you can become the best that you can be. Because every change that will take place in your life will first begin in your mind, not outside, in your mind. That's where all the change begins. I love the biblical scriptures that says that we should be transformed by the renewing of our mind. That is, we transform our lives by renewing our mind. So you can renew your life by renewing your mind. You can change your life by changing your mind. And your dominant consciousness will become your reality. Because the more you continually, invest things in your mind, and it defines your consciousness, with time, that becomes your reality. Think about it. If you reflect, in your life right now, particularly for those of you who do things really consciously, and you pay attention a lot to the things that you think and the things that you do, where you are today had been because of the things that you had consciously paid attention to. So I've not seen someone who actually built and sustained wealth, mark my words, built and sustained wealth, who did not do it consciously or built the consciousness. And most of them start, first of all, by learning and investing in themselves knowledge that will help them know what money is, how money works, how money is created, how it can be created, how it can be made, how it can be managed, and how it can be multiplied. They read a lot of materials on this. And those kinds of knowledge guide and control their actions and decisions and the kind of relationships that they build. Think about it. Knowledge defines your limitation. You can never outgrow the things that you know. You can't grow beyond what you know. Knowledge defines your limits. It's just like a student who writes an examination. Where your knowledge stops is where your hand stops moving to write things. Or you're trying to move from point A to point B. If you don't know how to get to point B, where your knowledge stops is where your progress stops. You need to ask somebody to get more knowledge of how to move from that point where you know up to how to get to the point B you're trying to get up to. And the more you know, the more you make progress. Where you stop knowing is where you stop. And you need to ask someone again to get some more knowledge on how to get to the point B you're trying to get to. And you make progress, and where you know up to is where you stop. And you ask again. And if you make too much assumptions, you might go the wrong road and never get to point B. In fact, you may be going farther away from point B. And this, expresses the importance of knowledge and why you should invest the right things into your mind to build the right consciousness to create the kind of reality you want. And as you will see, as we move along in this particular webinar, you'll find out, how we can do that to build ourselves. Now, your mentality is your captivity. Every man is a prisoner of how he thinks, of his mentality. So if, for instance, you believe that you can't, of course you can't. You're already a prisoner of that. If you believe that you can, yes, you can. You're already a prisoner of that. If you believe you can be wealthy, you'll be wealthy. You're already a prisoner of that mentality. Every man is imprisoned or captivated or trapped or controlled by his mentality, how he thinks or how she thinks. Like I said, it's crucial for me to set this foundation so that we can understand how this relates to what we're about to look at in terms of how to develop the mindset of the entrepreneur, which is very crucial because many people start doing things. They start building a company, but they lose it along the way because things like this have not been paid attention to. This is the root that holds everything all. Make all the plans, get all the funding, be able to procure money and investments to start something. You will start it, you will build it, but you don't have this all set. It will only be pegged at the level of impetancy, and gravity begins to take effect from there. But if you can pay attention to this and get this right, they begin to advance and make progress from there. That's how we have many people who have started things that they never finish. So they are good at starting things, but they're not good at finishing things. They have lots of projects that they've never concluded. This is one of the factors responsible for that. So we need to be able to get this right, and that's why it's good to set this foundation as we lay it on top of what we did last week. Whatever gets your dominant attention controls your future. And this also refers to, your mindset, the contents, your mind, how you need to begin to pay attention to invest in certain things in your mind, and you allow that to control your mind, focusing on basically what you think and how you think. The frequent act of thinking on something is actually creating that thing. This works in all fields, whether it's sports, whether it's on money, whether it's on life. Some persons call it the law of attraction. You will always magnetize to yourself your dominant consciousness, always. And that's why it's good to protect your mind from worrying, because the more you worry, the more you're reproducing the kind of circumstance that brought that situation. That's why many persons never get free. And they begin to blame other people for their predicaments because they've still not gotten it yet. The control tower is the mind. That's where it's coming from. And that's why worrying is dangerous. It produces the experiences that led to it. Your reality depends heavily on your frequent meditations, whether they're good or whether they're bad. You better make sure they're good. A smart woman I met explained and put it this way, that you should always think of what you're thinking, because oftentimes you're thinking of certain things and you're not paying attention to what you're thinking. That is, you can be thinking on something that is damaging and destroying your life, or moving your life away from things that you really don't want to experience. So don't give your mind to pay attention to things you don't want to be. You want to become a high-growth entrepreneur, then think that way. And I will show you, this series is aimed at helping you think that way, so you can become that way and control yourself that way. If we get this right, then you program yourself and you can put your life on auto mode, such that your choices, your decisions, your actions will be based on that, because that's actually what controls those three. Your mindset and the state of your mind controls your relationships, your decisions, and your actions. So you need to get that fixed so that you can make the choices that will make you the high-growth entrepreneur, the choices that will bring the wealth, the decisions that will bring the wealth, the actions that will bring the wealth, and the relationships that will make that happen. So the reality that you have heavily depends on your meditation, good or bad. Now, you're exactly what you think. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. You're exactly what you think. Your desires will never become your reality until your consciousness and convictions are in line with them. So if you desire a thing, but your thinking is not in agreement with that, there's already division there. Those desires will not come to pass. And that's why we have many people who have desires. And this can help you see why certain of desires that some of us might have are not really coming to pass, because we desire certain things, but we have not aligned the state of our consciousness and our convictions in line with that. Don't worry, I'm going to show you how you're going to develop the entrepreneurial mindset and the things that you can do to help you align both together. Now, watch what you're thinking and ensure it aligns with your desires, because you may be creating something completely opposite to your desires. You're not where you are by accident. You actually created them by the things you're thinking. That's how you must watch what you're thinking. Consciously think of what you're thinking. Meditation is the beginning of the creation process, and you have to make it conscious, because most of the negative things that happen in the lives of some of us were done unconsciously, allowing things to just, allowing the mind to run itself. No, you run your mind. You don't allow your mind to run itself. Before you allow your mind to run itself, make sure you have programmed it and automated it by doing certain things consciously, investing the right content into your mind, doing the right things, aligning your mind until it becomes automatic and you think about it. Just like how you think of what your gender and your name is. Even in your dream, you know what your name is and your gender is, because it has been immersed effectively into your consciousness. You have to reprogram yourself in line with becoming an entrepreneur accordingly, or whatever you want to become at whatever level, whether it's wealthy or you want to build a wealthy mindset. It has to begin from that way. Everything you become begins from your mind, as I've expressed. That's where we should all begin from. You can't change your reality. You can change your reality rather by changing your mentality, because your mentality actually is your reality. Your mentality is the inner world that creates your outer world. Everything begins from there. The seen is created by the unseen, right? So, and I'll explain what this means. what you end up seeing happen in your life will be created by the unseen part. That is the part that others don't see. Only you can see. You fabricate them in your imagination, whether consciously or unconsciously. The unseen are the things that you are forming consciously or unconsciously in your inner world. Right? Those are the things. That's why you should pay attention to what your thoughts are, what your expectations are, what your dominant consciousness is. So bad things could happen to some people, and you just hear them say, "I knew it. I knew this was going to happen." They knew it was going to happen because they had first imagined it or expected it or triggered a wrong or negative expectation, which led to such. And so it's crucial to check what you're thinking and talking about. All right, because the unseen are the things you're forming consciously or unconsciously in your inner world. Let's proceed on from here. Now, like an addict, you are controlled by your dominant consciousness. You can reshape them by aligning to align with your desires, which means you can actually reshape your consciousness. And we'll see how that is done. You can practice the discipline of seeing the unseen. And this is the discipline that helps you put your attention, put your mind, drive your consciousness to envision the things that you want to see happen in your life and become your own reality. You have to do that, particularly if you're not used to it. You need some form of discipline that is self-control, that is literally control yourself and put your mind in line to fix with that, because your mind possibly might have been used to something that is not related to that. So you can change your life by doing this. Now, as I've mentioned before, your mindset is about what you think and how you think. I expressed all those thoughts that I mentioned before getting here, just to help us, set the stage of the importance of the mindset and the mind, and why it's crucial for us to have this all straightened out and to be able to, achieve the goal of cultivating high-growth entrepreneurs, and you becoming the high-growth entrepreneur, not just somebody starting something, but really a high-growth entrepreneur. So your mindset is basically what you think and how you think. And anyone can become a high-growth entrepreneur, no matter your status or your present position, right? Developing your entrepreneurial mindset is the next thing to do after you find yourself, and that's why we're paying attention to that here, and you can actually become one. And don't feel insecure and say that you're an employer and so it's not possible. There are entrepreneurs who are employees, and you can become an entrepreneur in an existing organization. In fact, the best of employees are those who think entrepreneurially, operate entrepreneurially, run their divisions and units that they head, or the things that they do entrepreneurially, right? So you can always distinguish yourself. I've proved it many times, even before I started my own first company. Now let's begin to explore this mindset by looking at the levels of thinking and where the entrepreneurial mindset falls in. And I'll try to use something that we can relate with easily to help us understand it, because the essence of this is also to be able to connect and see to it that we're driving home the core objective of this. And just before I move ahead too far, if you have questions, you'll find a button at the base of your screen called Q&A. Q&A. So there's a Q&A button there. Please use that button to put in your questions. If you have questions as I'm going on in the session, please use the Q&A button to put in your questions so that we can engage from there. After I'm done with this, I'll try to be fast with the session today so that we can go straight to the Q&A session, and then we can ask real questions and address issues that need to be addressed. So levels of thinking. At what level are you thinking? Becoming a high-growth entrepreneur demands that you are thinking at the highest level, and I'll show you what that means using a particular analogy. The true entrepreneur wants to employ every virtue he or she has to create. For him or her, it's about self-actualization, becoming the best that you can be, creating the fortune that you can create, creating the solutions that you can create, finding answers to questions that already exist, thinking differently about issues that people complain about. Average mindsets obviously complain about things. Lots of people in that category, lots of people. Everybody's complaining, literally. Few persons are thinking differently. That's why it's like a pyramid. Those who think at the highest level are the peak of the pyramid. And if you split the pyramid, you find out that there are few persons actually at the peak of the pyramid, and lots of persons at the base of the pyramid. In fact, lots of people, the bottom billion are full of people who complain about problems that those at the peak of the pyramid are figuring out how to solve and having those at the bottom of the pyramid pay for. And that's why wealth moves from the ground up. I mean, it's not coming from any other place. Wealth is coming from the ground up. That's how wealth comes from. So let's use this analogy. This is what we can call the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And I'll use this as an analogy to express levels of thinking. Let's start with the bottom of the pyramid, physiological needs. So these are the needs that cover air, water, food, shelter, sleep, clothing, reproduction. For those whose needs, who live their lives just to meet these needs, the reason for their consciousness, the reason why they go to work, the reason why they are looking for a job is just to ensure that they have food to eat, they have shelter, they can sleep, they can have clothing, they can have some change to buy certain things. That all they're living for is this. We have many people in this category, lots of people. This explains to you how low such level of thinking is. It's too low level of thinking because they're only thinking for themselves here. Step up a bit above that, we have safety nets. So these are the needs around personal security, employment, resources, health, property. At this level, I mean, it's just how one can procure job security and, be in a safe zone, just to be able to take care of basic needs. Now, nothing bad with all these. I'm using this basically as an analogy to express levels of thinking, particularly when it relates to entrepreneurship and the level at which the entrepreneur thinks and reasons. Move above that level is love and belonging, where beyond just achieving physiological and safety needs, we're also thinking of the importance of people and how wealth can be created through people and what relationship is and how relationship matters. Talking about friendships, intimacies, families, sense of connection. In fact, you can tell that at this particular level, more wealth is created than safety needs, than those who operate at the level of safety needs and physical needs. So you can tell from the level of love and belongings and people who use this and understand the importance of this, you see them, they join clubs, make friends, have meetings with people over dinner, over coffee, to strike deals, do business, find opportunities, get contracts, relate to people in government. More wealth is created. The higher you go here, the more you create wealth. The higher you go on this level, the more you create wealth. Because the levels of thinking are different. Thinking at the physical level of needs, all the thinking at that level is around meeting physical needs. At the safety needs, all the thinking around that level is just thinking about how to be safe, job security. That's all the thinking. No level of taking risk at all at this level. Love and belonging is at this level, it's about relating with people. And most people stop and peg things there. Go above that level is level of thinking that gives attention to esteem, respect for self and others, status, and also recognition. That is wanting to do something that can be recognized and possibly cannot leave someone. And also the level at which your time becomes very valuable and you are looking for the opportunity to have the freedom of your time to do things that you think really matter, like mentoring other people, having value for the lives of others, and actually building fortune in the process, actually creating prosperity through other people. And the highest level, which is where the high growth entrepreneur really thinks, is the level of self-actualization, as I mentioned earlier on. This desire to become the most that one can be, which means no matter the billions of dollars and fortune that is made at this level, because the goal is not just about the amount of billions that have been made, but actually self-actualization, such person is still thriving more because the person keeps thinking, I think I can still do more. I think I can still be more. I think I still, make some more contribution. I think this thing can be better than this, but many get satisfied. Like you can see from the pyramid, if you measure the size of that particular section of the pyramid, just few persons make it at that level or think at that level. So at what level would you like to think? Because if you're going to become a high growth entrepreneur, you can't think at the base level. You can't think at the safety level only. You have to go beyond that level and begin to think of self-actualization. And this is what building the mindset really is about. Because the lower you go on that pyramid, the more the poverty mindset. Because at that mindset, there's nothing about giving there. Um, it's just about self, about meeting basic needs. It's basically about survival. If you're still thinking survival, then you're not thinking contribution, obviously. And the wealth is created from thinking contribution. And that's the level of highest form of thinking. And someone might be wondering, so what if someone doesn't have the money to even contribute? Talk less of contribute. You don't need to have the money. In the last class that we had, which happened to be the first uh, episode of this particular series, we talked about resources, which is the R on the smart PC. There is what you have that you can start with. You can give what you have. It's not just money. And I think I would like to use a biblical analogy here. Let's think of Joseph in the Bible, who was sold as a slave by his brothers. He got to Potiphar's house because Potiphar bought him as a slave. But you can tell that his level of thinking was completely different from how a slave should think. He was born as a slave, but he didn't think as a slave. And you could see that in the way he acted, in the way he behaved, that even Potiphar had to notice and felt that this guy thinks like he owns this place. He thinks like someone who values the property of his master. So he appointed him the CEO of his empire. And from that point, all that Potiphar had started to grow and to blossom and to flourish. Then he was set up and he found himself in prison. But in the prison, he had the chance of meeting two persons that worked directly with the king of Egypt. That's Pharaoh. And one of the persons was going to die according to the dream that they had, and the other was going to live. And for the one that lived, Joseph connected with him. Remember, Joseph didn't have money in the prison, but he had the gift to interpret the dreams of other people. And so he didn't charge those people for what he offered. So we can call that marketing, actually. Somebody needs to know what you can do so that they can refer you to other people who will pay you for the things that you can do. And so what Joseph basically did was to offer what he had, the ability to interpret dreams. So he interpreted the dreams of those two. To cut a long story short, one of those who benefited from that gift that he offered to them, who happened to be the cupbearer of Pharaoh, was able to tell Pharaoh that he met someone who interpreted his dream for him and all interpreted was correct. And this led to Joseph being sent for, and he ended up becoming the prime minister of Egypt, just because he gave what he had. So stop looking for what you don't have and using that as an excuse for not becoming the best that you can be. There's what you actually have that you can start with. And that's why we started with finding yourself. There's something you have you can start with. And so you want to leave the category of people who always look for what they don't have, and that's why they don't start, which has been the excuse for not starting. You can start with what you have from where you are. There's always something you can start with, always something you can start with. The apple tree you're looking for is in the apple seed in your hand. The apple forest you will need in the future, they are all in the apple seed that you have. So it's about you finding and bringing out that apple forest from that apple seed. That's where your job is, bringing out the apple forest from the apple seed. Your thoughts are your reality, as I've mentioned. Your thoughts define your level. So please note that. Now let me give a case study as I begin to wrap things up and now go straight to how you can develop this mindset. So let's look at the case study. And I'm going to use my brother and friend, Seyi Abolaji, as an example, because he's the founder of this company, Wilson Juice Company, the makers of the Wilson Lemonade. Some of you possibly will know this product. It's a premium drink that is sold in virtually most stores that we have in Nigeria and even beyond Nigeria today. So Seyi Abolaji was born in Nigeria. By the age of 5, his parents took him and his brother Seun to the US to have a better life, to live a better life. And from the age of 5, he had been in the US, did his primary education there, did his high school education there, did his college education there. He actually attended Stanford University the same university that the founders of Google attended. And in that place, he studied philosophy. During his education, I mean, he was taught, culture of the school he went to, they exposed them to quite a number of things. So one of the things that he learned was the importance of entrepreneurship and how it's a good platform to create wealth and prosperity. And also ensuring that you pursue the things that really matter and use your life effectively to create things that really matter. So from then on, I decided to dream, to do a number of things. And prior to that time, he had not been to Nigeria since his parents took him from uh, Nigeria, himself and his brother, and they had been in the US. So after he completed his education in Stanford, he got a job that was paying him so much money that he was earning in a month what his parents had never earned in their lifetime up till that time. Had never earned. I mean, going to Stanford University, graduating from there, earning a high paying job, was earning so much. So he started to save some money from what he was earning. Um, During that period, he saved some money. And his mom and dad, were obviously proud of him. All of a sudden, she, who had been taught a lot of things in Stanford, that the biggest opportunities are in the place where you have the biggest problems, one day decided he was going to visit Nigeria and start another life in Nigeria. And of course, his parents, who took him out of Nigeria with a plan to give himself and his brother a better life, felt like, what's going wrong here? We brought you out of this place because we wanted you to have a better life, and now you are saying you are going there because one professor in Stanford told you that the biggest opportunities are in the place where you have the biggest problems. So he has a strong will. He found his way through and got to Nigeria. Took the amount of money he had saved. So he came to Nigeria there with 40,000 US dollars. The savings he had, just leaving college, working, and saved some amount of money from what he was earning from his job then. And he came to Nigeria with his $40,000. And if you come to Nigeria with such money and you relate with other Nigerians in the name of trying to do business, who understand Nigeria more than you can, of course, predict what happened afterwards. He was cheated, duped by these so-called people who were trying to be honest people, who happened to be some of them his relatives, whom he have never met, even again since that time. They reduced him from 40,000 US dollars to 2,000 naira, not $2,000, to 2,000 naira. So at that point, he started getting smart. Lots of options, of course, came to his mind. What Sheyi did was to get a one-way ticket to Nigeria because he was trying to burn the bridge. Because he sensed that certain things could happen that will make him want to come back. That is, return back to the US. So he wanted to just, go on head on. Many thoughts came to his mind. Should I get back to the US? Of course, that's an option that will come into his mind. And he kept thinking about, lots of things. Many options came in. He had committed himself, but now certain things are going on that will make him go away and veer away from what he had decided to do. I'm using his analogy to express how the entrepreneurial mind works and what makes the mind different. Now there's a problem. How do you solve that problem? At some point, his mom came. So what Sean did was, Sean decided to buy an acre from the change he had before he was reduced to 2,000 naira. He bought an acre of property, about 2 acres or so, somewhere around in Ogun State, and built a small piece there, but wasn't completed. That's where he was sleeping, and he stayed there. His mom decided to leave the US because she was worried and concerned about what was going on with her son. The dad had already disowned him, completely displeased that, someone would leave the US and come to Nigeria, to go and do what? So his mom came to Nigeria, located him, and found him sleeping on a mat in an uncompleted building that he owns. And she started to cry, and the question she asked, what is my sin? Like, what is my sin that you're punishing me and yourself this way? Like, why would you be doing this to yourself? Why are you hard on yourself? Like, what's the meaning of this? His mom persuaded him, but this guy had a dream that was so strong in him that he refused to hear. Well, to cut the long story short, he took his 2,000 naira, bought a few lemons, and started to experiment with some products. Moved to Covenant University campus, got a space in one of the cafeterias in Covenant University campus, and started to squeeze lemons and sell smoothies to Covenant University students. This is a Stanford graduate. Started to sell. All she needed to survive as at that time was a plate of meal and a can of malt and a bottle of water. That's all he needed to survive. So for every amount he made every single day, he would just remove the amount for his meal and stack up the rest to reinvest in this smoothies lemonade business. Then he started to build. His brother came, joined him, and started to support and assist. Then his brother thought, can we move from cups to bottles? So they started to get bottles and wash bottles and put them in bottles. Then the brother asked again, can we have our own bottles and brand this in bottles? So they started to brand their own bottles, and they, that's when they had the first Wilson bottle there. Then they started to brand and to build. Well, to cut long story short, Wilson Juice Company has become a multi-million-dollar company now. The last time it was valued, it was over $2 million in valuation. If you go to any ShopRite store, you find the drink there. Some airlines in Nigeria use the drink that span beyond Nigeria. If you go to Stanford Seed GSB, Stanford University website, you'll find him being honored there for what he had done. I mean, he's young. Maybe one of these days I'll invite him over for some of these webinars. We've actually invited him before to share here. I'll still invite him so that you can have maybe some Q&A session with him. You're a remarkable brother. We call ourselves brothers. We do quite a number of things together. He's also a board member of the EduStart Global, where he also mentors and supports a number of startups that will work with us, because our mission still remains to cultivate good entrepreneurs. Now look at what Sri has done and think of how the average mind would have reacted to his situation compared to how he responded to it, courtesy of the training and exposure he had exposed himself to. And anyone can become a good entrepreneur. So when you're challenged, how would you respond? How do you see problems? As an opportunity to complain or as an opportunity to create something? Let me give another example here, even though it's not on the slide, just to also corroborate on this. And I'll use Nnamdi Ezigbo as an example. Nnamdi Ezigbo is the founder of Slot and also the co-founder of the Techno brand. The Techno brand, Infinix and ITEL. So Nnamdi Ezigbo did electrical engineering in college in Nigeria, and his dream was to work in an oil company like Chevron. But after waiting 2 years and he didn't get the oil job, being interested in computers, decided to work as an apprentice with one of his friends in Computer Village. This was when Computer Village was still virgin. I mean, it wasn't as developed as we had now. And he learned how to fix computers while he was working with his friend who owned the computer fixing company. But somehow customers preferred him because he just had this customer service, gift. The way he related to customers, how he attended to them, advised them on how to take care of their equipment and all that. So anytime, customers came, I mean, they just went straight to meet him. When it was done, with his training with his friend, he started to start his own, which he named Slot, because they usually call him Slot. I mean, his nickname was called Slot then. So he started his own company called Slot. Then he started servicing. From servicing, he moved on to selling computers. Then around 1999, year 2000, 2001, the Nigerian government started to offer the license for GSM. Immediately, he just saw the future that everything was going to go mobile. So he stopped from selling computers and started selling mobile devices. Then discovered that Nigerians were holding 2-3 phones at the same time. So he just started to think, is it possible for us to have a phone that can take 2-3 SIMs at the same time, seeing that Nigerians were holding 2-3 phones at the same time? So he had a conversation with Nokia. He communicated with Nokia because Nokia was one of the phones used as at that time. And Nokia, turned to his proposal and said, no, they can't do business with him. They don't know him. And 1, 2, it doesn't make sense to have a phone that has more than one SIM. I mean, why would you do a phone with more than a SIM? Because other regions of the world, I mean, they're used to, one SIM. But in Nigeria, people using 2, 3, 4, 5 phones, and someone is coming up with an idea that we should have a phone with more than one SIM. So he left Nokia and went to Samsung. Samsung told him something similar. Then he decided to go to China and speak to some companies there. I know Chinese people, they can create whatever you want, just give them the specifications. And exactly they did that. And so the first Technophone was done, allowing you to, have two SIMs in one phone. Of course, it didn't do well. I mean, those of us who remember, we had such kind of phones, and it didn't do well then. But then they started to learn from the gaps, started to learn from the failures. And now they're doing very well with their phones. And they've done phones that many Nigerians can afford within the the price range of, say, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000. They've done phones that Nigerians could basically afford, irrespective of whatever income level that such Nigerians are. And a study was done about a year, 2 years ago, that's kind of like explored the kinds of phones that Nigerians use. And about 61% of Nigerians use either a Techno phone, Infinix phone, or Itel phone. And all three, the same guy, Nnamdi Ezekwe, thinking differently. Did he have the money then? No, it's just, working with partners. Graduated from college unemployed 2 years because he was looking for the oil job. Because he didn't want to be idle, he started to, work as an apprentice with a friend. From that, he learned a few things, started his own. So another problem that Nigerians are holding 2, 3, 4, like I said, entrepreneurs see opportunities. The problem was people wanted to have both Econet and MTN, which were the phones at that time, and Glo, holding 3 phones. He tried to solve that problem by figuring out how we can have one phone that holds all SIMs in one. And that has built him a fortune. Changing your mindset depends largely on the following. So this is basically showing you how you can change your mindset, because you can actually change it. If you don't believe you can change your mindset or change your mind, you will not be able to grow as you should grow. So how can you change your mind to change your life? Start first of all by changing your circle. You are the average of the 5 persons you presently are in tune and in touch closely with. How they think influences you. How they operate influences you. So if you want to change your level, change your circle. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. He that walks with the wise shall be wise. A companion of fools shall be destroyed. Change your circle to change your level. Another way you can change your mindset to change your life is the content you expose yourself to. What do you read? What do you watch? What movies do you watch? What series do you watch? What are the kind of things you listen to? Beyond just entertaining yourself, what's the negative effect of some of those things on you? Do they help you dream big, think big? Do they help you see yourself as an entrepreneur that can start something and build something and take the risk of doing something? Or do they make you think that a bird in hand is better than 2 in the bush, and so you don't take the risk of going to find the 2 in the bush and get secure about just the one bird in hand? What do you listen to? What kind of content you expose yourself to? Another is your influencers. Who are the people that influence you? Some of them you've met, some you've not influenced. Maybe artists, billionaires, and all that. Entrepreneurs inspire me. I've met some, I've not met some. I watch their videos on YouTube. I listen to them, I read their books. I follow up with the things that they're doing. I allow their actions inspire and influence me. Who are your influencers? And also your choice. You choose your change. You choose your change. So just to summarize the things that you need to do. But now let's zoom that in and express that on the entrepreneurial mindset and how that relates with entrepreneurship. So the entrepreneurial mindset, the entrepreneurial mind is the mind that sees problems as opportunities and challenges as chances for growth. You can refer to the experience of Seyi Abolaji and the experience of Nnamdi Ezekwe that I used earlier on, prior to this point, on how they solve their problems as their opportunities. Your problem actually is your raw material for your next stage. The entrepreneurial mindset is a growth mindset that controls to keep you and to drive you to create value, to create opportunities, and to create wealth. You can also refer back to the experience of Shea Bolaji and Nnamdi Ezekwe from what I explained. So your mindset should be such that you always want to grow. And it's such that you keep driving you and influencing you to create value, to create solutions, to create opportunities, to create wealth. Don't worry, in this series, we're going to go deeply into all these things and how you can do that, because the goal is for you to become one, a high growth entrepreneur, the best that you can be, transform and change the world to do things. Now, what you can do to develop the entrepreneurial mindset is what I'm going to show you now. And this will also show you some moves that you can make immediately to begin to do that. All right. So, how can you develop the entrepreneurial mindset? Number one, associate yourself with entrepreneurial minded people, people who think entrepreneurially. Whether directly, if you can meet them, meet them. Whether indirectly, social media, their books, their YouTube videos, any way you can learn from them, listen to them, find out what they do, how they do it, when they do it, why do they do it, what influences their choices, where do they get investments from, how did they start? Some you find that they were actually poor. I mean, so how did they just transform their lives? Like, what happened? Associate yourself with entrepreneurial-minded people. Find out, from people who went from zero to hero. How did they do it? Find out, explore. Let your curiosity guide you and drive you. Associate yourself with people in that category. Remember I said earlier on that your circle defines your level, and your circle might not be just those that you can meet physically. There are persons who already influence you that you've not met physically. You can as well find entrepreneurial-minded people to be in that group and improve your level by associating yourself with that category. Number two, study active startups and companies. If you're going to become a high growth entrepreneur, you're expected to, of course, build a startup, a company, sustainable one, with high intense value. And you want to know why they succeed and why they fail, so that you can learn how not to fail and also learn how to succeed. And that's why I expressed here that you should study them, study their failures. Why do they fail? You'll find out that the reasons why some of them fail is also expressed in some of the things that I've started to express in this series. One is finding yourself. Second, which we are on, is developing the entrepreneurial mindset. You'll find out a couple of others as you move along in this particular series. Why did they fail? Why did they succeed? You need to find out, study that. That will also motivate and drive you. The whole process will influence you, and such kind of information will guide and govern your choices and your decisions and your actions. How do you develop the entrepreneurial mindset? Number three, study high growth entrepreneurs. Find out about their habits. What's their daily lifestyle? Find out about their choices. How do they think? Why do they do the things that they do? Find out about their results and their performances. Many just stop at finding about their results and their performances, and they get excited about that, and they don't find out the story behind the glory or what leads to the results, which is their lifestyle, their habits. What's their daily routine like, for God's sake? What do they do every single day? How do they use time? How do they make their money? What influences their choices for creating value? One of the guys who inspires me is Steve Jobs. Even though he's dead now, I mean, his works still inspire me. So, for instance, he would say things like, I don't go to bed with the dream or wish or wishing that I'm the richest man in the world, but I go to bed when I think that I've done something wonderful today. So every single day is a goal to accomplish something wonderful. And so you see that culture has been immersed in the company called Apple, where they do quite interesting and amazing products. Because one of the founders, had a particular habit and value for living that says that he's not going to bed until he has convinced himself that he has done something wonderful today. Study high growth entrepreneurs. Find out about their habits, lifestyle choices, how they think, why they do the things that they do, their results, their performances. If you can find the biographies, study them. What you're doing is you're actually associating yourself with them. You're rubbing minds with them. You're working with them. And he that works with the wise shall be wise. You're gradually building your mindset as an entrepreneur in the process. Experiment, execute, and experience. So after studying and doing all that, certain information comes to your mind. Now take action, right? Be willing to risk and to fail and even learn from the failure, right? Don't be afraid to fail. Be bold enough. The more you're willing to put yourself on the line, the quicker you get there. you want to become a high growth entrepreneur, you can't think like a coward. You can't try to be safe. You have to think like someone who is willing to make it happen. The benefits you're trying to achieve should far outweigh the costs that you think you might incur in the process. So don't try to put yourself in the safe and secure zone. There's never comfort in glory. It's called the weights of glory. So glory has weights. You need to build the turf and the muscle to carry the weight. You want small weights, glory, then don't build your muscle for taking risks and doing big things. So you have to learn to experiment and learn from experimentation. You have to learn to execute, take action, build something. What you have as an entrepreneurial idea, start something, learn from it, build on it, improve on it. Stop asking what if it doesn't work. Start asking what if it works. And if it doesn't work, you learn from it. And you take the lessons to build the next thing. One of my students, or rather the three of them, founded a company called PiggyVest. The first company they started was Push CV. Push CV didn't do so well, but the lessons from Push CV have helped them to build remarkable success with PiggyVest. So it's not about failing or succeeding. It's not a one-time thing. You have to keep doing things to advance your life. So experiment, execute, and experience it. Next, train your mind to see things differently. This is where the discipline comes in, the self-control. You talk to a lot of people. Find time to talk to yourself, just you alone. Lock yourself inside, talk to yourself. Talk to yourself until you keep thinking in the direction with which you're talking. About yourself being a high-growth entrepreneur. Think that way. From the lessons that you'll be learning on how high-growth entrepreneurs think, how do you operate, what governs the choices. Train your mind to think that way. Think differently from how you presently think. This will help you to unleash the power of the unseen and use your mind to your advantage instead of to your disadvantage. Now, be benefit-minded instead of being cost-minded, because some persons might quit when they start for the first time practicing the art of aligning the mind to suit becoming a high-growth entrepreneur. Particularly because when you start learning from high-growth entrepreneurs, don't just gather information for information's sake. Start aligning yourself with it, which is why I said experiment, execute, and experience the things that you're learning. That you find out that high-growth entrepreneurs do, that you find out that startups and companies do. Whatever you find out from the things you're learning here, like I said, study active startups and companies. I've said that you should study high-growth entrepreneurs, right? Now, from the things you're learning from there, experiment and execute and experience those things. If you're not getting the results that you desire, you try again. If you fail, you try again. You learn from the failure. Failure is not final. It's just an opportunity to learn how things don't work, and then you find out how it works and you improve. Train your mind to see things differently. And don't allow the cost of the process of trying to learn and build yourself. Don't allow that cost restrict you from moving forward. Rather, begin with the end in mind. Let the benefits inspire you to act, rather than allow the costs to discourage you from taking action. Being cost-minded is being present conscious, but being benefit-minded is being future conscious. So be future-minded, be futuristic, and begin with the end, the future, in mind. That's how you can really advance with this kind of thing. And this also aligns with how the entrepreneurial mind works and how it thinks. That's why the entrepreneur can pick, his last dime and invest in a company, because he's benefit conscious, he's future minded. He believes that the future has more rewards than the present. So he takes what's available in the present and invests it to be able to build a bigger future. A smaller mind, you'll see that as expensive, and now rather save and begin to manage that, because the present is more valuable than that. I'm sure you must have heard of the saying that says a bird in hand is worth two in the bushes. This mindset has destroyed a lot of minds from taking risks, from making moves. You can do big things with your life. Why are you so inspired by the one bird in hand? Go into the bush and find the 20 birds in the bush. Go there. The one bird in hand is actually what's stopping you from going to get the 2,000, 2 million, 2 billion birds in the bush. So don't be secure by the one bird in hand. Change your mind. Next is value yourself. Value yourself really well. You are worth more than what you are doing with yourself. Stop staying in safe, secure zone. Get out of your comfort zone. Execute, experiment, experience. And finally, be humble to learn. Always see that there is more that you can know because there's more that you can be. Because you always become more the more you know more. For instance, you're here in this class, you've learned a number of things because you're humble enough to, to learn. Now, you have to take action with the things that you've learned, which is where the highest level of humility and learning comes from. Because learning is not complete until we take action on the things that we've learned, so that it's not just reduced to information, but also action. As I conclude, start building the entrepreneurial mindset from what I've just shared to influence you to do great things with your life. I'm glad we've gotten to this point, and I hope we have questions and answers. So this is me, Dr. Stephen Olatobi, founder of Start Global and creator of Startup Lab. You can follow me on social media. That's my name there, at Stephen Olatobi, on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. In fact, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel to find the recordings of the previous session that we had last week. All right, I think it's time for question and answer. I hope we all got the things that have been shared so far. Mrs. Agumadu, I hope I'm doing well with time. I didn't actually check
Yes,
up on
sir.
it. Oh, great, good.
Yeah.
I stopped the time. Thanks. All right, so if you have questions now, okay, I think I can see a question in Q&A. Mrs. Agumadu, please help me check the chat section in case there's any question hidden there while I look at the question in the Q&A section here. Okay, so okay, I'm seeing the question. Okay, this is Dr. Tunde Agbi. Dr. Tunde Agbi, nice to meet you again here. So let me just share this question to everyone. I'm not sure if everyone can see, so I'll just read it out. So I'll just read this question here. From what I have gained so far from today's program, I can imagine what I missed last week. I hope we can get it, because yes, you can. You can get the recorded version. Yes, you can. Meanwhile, I would like you to further expatiate on entrepreneurial mindset using Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Okay, let me just go there to explain that. So I'll just go straight to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs to explain that one more time to respond to the question by Dr. Agnew. Okay. Just a second, everyone. Let me get to the slides. All right, so here we are. Here. So so the entrepreneurial mindset is basically talking about how we think, what we think. And that controls a lot of things. The choices we make, the decisions we make, and our actions all depend on how we think. For instance, somebody who thinks really too secure would rather hold his 1 million naira and not want to invest it. We'll just be spending it, like Nigerians will say, small, 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 small. But somebody who has the mindset of like, the future is more valuable than today. What can I do with this 1 million to create, more 1 millions? We'll take that and we'll take the risk of investing that to make that create more wealth. The first person will obviously have his own wealth, dropping gradually, while the other one will have his wealth growing gradually because he didn't stay in the safe, secure zone. The lower you go on this pyramid is safe, secure zone. And it also depends on how far one can think, how big one can think, which is also boiled down to mindset. So a mind that is only focused on living for the sake of survival will just be fine and okay to just get a job that can, take care of the roof, take care of the bills, take care of feeding and all that, compared to someone who has a vision to solve a problem, to create a product, to provide for other people, to contribute. The moment your mind switches from survival to wanting to contribute, that state of mind drives you to begin to make certain kinds of choices that are different from the kind of mind that thinks just survival. See, it's a way of thinking. The way we think programs us to move in certain directions. The way we think controls our choices. I gave the analogy of someone who has £1,000,000 and holds it, compared to another person who takes £1,000,000 and invests it to create further wealth. The other person who holds it obviously does not believe that he can have another £1,000,000, or maybe doesn't believe that he can take that £1,000,000 and use it to create, further wealth, or that he or she might lose it. So it's just in the safe, secure zone, because all he can think of is to meet maybe physiological needs or safety needs, or just to have something to hang around with friends. But as you move along this and you get to the peak, and it's the way you think that matters here, and you don't need to have a dime to think at the highest level. And I use the biblical example, using Joseph as an example. There is always what you have that you can start with. You'll really be thinking small of yourself if you think that your worth is just about what you have in terms of cash. And that's why the first class that we had last week, we focused a lot on finding yourself. And the hour of the Smart PC, we talked about resource. I told you guys to itemize certain things: your natural abilities, your experiences, your education, your networks, your relationships. All these actually are resources. And I asked you a question: how much of these have you used to create wealth? How much of these have you used to add value? How much of this have you used to give to others? The moment you start thinking at the level of self-actualization, that you can become more, that you can do more, then you are no longer worried about being in a safe zone. Like, I need to protect what's available because I don't know whether I can still get any other thing. There. So that's why I use this analogy there. So take your level of thinking from just meeting basic needs, or trying to be secure, or at the safety needs level, or just something, to connect with people, and go beyond that, beyond esteem, and start thinking at the level of self-actualization. That is, you're competing with yourself. Asking yourself every single day, is this the best that I can do? Is this the best that I can have? Is this the best that I can be? Can I do this a lot more? Who says I cannot build a multi-billion-dollar company? The moment you think you cannot even build a multi-billion-dollar company, that mindset has fixed you. You obviously can't build a multi-billion-dollar company, because, as I explained before, when I was trying to set a foundation on the importance and power of mindset, I said you're exactly what you think you are. Right? I was explaining that somewhere here when I was talking about certain things on how the mind works. You are what you think. It's all mindset. I hope I was able to answer Dr. Agbi's question. I hope I did. Please, if I didn't clarify well enough, Dr. Agbi, please use the Q&A button again to help me know that, so I can buttress further. And maybe if there's any aspect I didn't touch, you can just help so I can clarify that a lot more. Okay, so let me pick another question. I've answered this. Done. Okay, so this is Fisayo Adeyemi. Fisayo, how are you doing? Thank you for your proper, right? Mind blown. Okay, yeah. My question is, when I read a valuable book that changes my thinking, I sometimes forget some of the content. Should I reread the book when there are more amazing books to read, especially in the new year? All right, I think I understand what Fisayo is saying and where he's coming from. All right, Fisayo, I understand the question, but I'll read again for the sake of those who possibly might not have seen the question. My question is, when I read a valuable book that changes my thinking, I sometimes forget some of the content. Should I reread the book when there are more amazing books to read, especially in the new year? Now, the question that I'm going to ask that I'd like you to reflect on is, why do you read? And I'll use myself as an example. I don't read for information's sake. So if you read for information's sake, there's tendency that you'll forget some of the content. I read to gather knowledge as raw materials. And of course, raw materials are not ends in themselves. They are raw materials because we need them to create other things. So I want to build a startup company in, let's say, for the agro sector, which we can call maybe an agrotech company. I need to find out how that sector works. I need to find out the likely things that could go wrong in that kind of sector. I need to understand the nature of the product, the kind of talent I need on that. So the things that I have as concerns drive me to go find out. That process of finding out moves me to read certain books, authored by entrepreneurs who are possibly already in that field or have made decisions or have experiences in the area where I have concerns and questions, because it's a concern and a question for me. There's no way I can forget what I'm trying to find out. Once in a while, I can even go back to the material and make reference to, oh, I read this, in this particular book. What decision did this guy make in this context? So I go back to check, because at that point, I need to get his advice or her advice on that subject. So I go back to the book, to make reference. So yes, you can go back to the book to make reference. So to answer a question straight, restructure the why, your why of why you read books, not just for information's sake, because your reading is not an end in itself. So don't read from the viewpoint of just trying to get grades, like how we learn in formal education. We read to get information and to also be able to answer the questions of the lecturer. No. Now, this is the real world. You're trying to build something that matters. You're trying to become a high-growth entrepreneur. You're trying to align your thinking effectively. Many things will enter consciously and unconsciously, and some things might not stick because of the motive of the reading. So change your why. That's what I'm saying. Change your why and you hardly forget those things. Think of some of the things that you have done. I'm sure you must have read certain things that you read because of certain reasons. You never forgot those things. There's some things you'll never forget because of the why. The why was strong enough to keep you there. So, and this does not mean that if you get a book, you need to complete everything end to end, because the goal is to have certain questions answered and to address certain concerns. There's some books, for instance, now that I've read that I've not read the entirety, because the other chapters didn't have answers to my questions. But just one chapter or two chapters provided answers to my questions and addressed my concerns. And so I learned from that, and I used my lessons from that to go make the decisions that I needed to make on the particular subject or reason for which I was trying to get that. So the reading is not an end in itself. So yes, I'm not saying don't learn to be informed, but have a stronger why for trying to read, and then you never forget to it. And if you forget certain things, maybe you don't need it for that particular point in time in case you forget. But when you need it, it will come up, because something will always come up when you need something. I mean, many things must have happened to you if you're where you're trying to make a decision on something. You remember that, oh, I think I read something around this, and you're trying to remember. That can make you go make reference to whatever material that you got that from, right? But when you need it, you'll be able to dig it out. But master it well enough and know what your why is. All right, so this is a question by Dayo Omona. It says this session, all right, thank you. On learning from startups, which platform do you recommend to get accurate information? Currently use Twitter and certain newsletters. Okay, there are actually many platforms. In fact, there are so many platforms that, you can even get more confused because of information overload. So I can't say I want to recommend a particular platform. It also, you say use Twitter, it also depends on who you're following on Twitter. So maybe you can begin to follow certain entrepreneurs on Twitter who provide, advice through their tweets and all that. You can also follow certain persons on Instagram who share those things, if it's social media you're referring to. Find entrepreneurs that you also honor and respect, who are already in the direction that you see yourself operating in or you desire to actually operate in, and begin to study their materials, their articles, their blogs. Some of them have personal blogs, their names.org or .com or .net. Paul Graham, has a blog in his name where he puts articles, mostly for tech entrepreneurs. He's the founder of one of the leading startup accelerators in the world, and that's Y Combinator. So many of them have their own personal blogs. You can, go to their personal blogs and read that. There are lots of platforms, this entrepreneur.com. But me, at my level, there are certain persons that I actually follow, but you can start from where you are and begin to study and to explore. But there are lots of platforms. So maybe what we can do is to itemize a few things and share on resource materials that you could take advantage of. If you look at the announcement also, you will find, I think there's a link there, right? Okay, it's not here. It's not here. So there's something missing out here. There's a book that also gives details on some of the things that I'll be sharing here. It's called EduStart, Becoming a High-Growth Entrepreneur. I think a link will be shared. I don't know if Ngozi is here. Ngozi, if you're here, please kindly put that link in the chat section for them to be able to access it and use it from there. Okay. I want to believe I answered Daye Amona's question. If not, please let me know in the chat section. Okay, I have another question also from the same person. For a startup that's in between conception and execution, what advice would you give? Top 3. Okay, does the mindset affect during this period? Of course, the mindset affects it in every period. In fact, from the beginning of the period. So let me just try to answer the first question. I don't know whether I can say top 3 or whatever, but I'll just express to you the things that I consider important and matters. So for a startup that's in between conception and execution, what advice would I give? One, I would say learn a lot. And I think you started that by being in this place, if you're the person that you're referring to. 2, don't just learn, take action. Do something. What are you interested in? Start doing something. Start building from the things that you're learning. Don't get yourself stuck with plenty of analysis paralysis. One of the things that I've discovered from those who have stayed in the concept stage for so long, one of the things I found out that they fall prey of is too much analysis. They attend lots of readings, and because they feel they have not known well enough to take action. Learning continues, and it's for life. You keep learning for life. It's never enough. You have to keep learning. But if you think that you need to finish learning before you start, then you will never start. So that's why I said you have to take action and experiment and start and build and create something. I know something else might stop you, and that's fear. The fear of failure and the fear of rejection. So I'm challenging you to ignore those kind of fears and be bold enough to fail. Most of the startup companies and entrepreneurs that we term successful today had their own fair shares of failures. And so failure is no longer seen as failure in this particular environment of becoming a high-growth entrepreneur, because failure is part of the journey. Because there are certain experiences that you will need in the failure process, which you use to build either what failed or the next thing you would like to build. There are quite a number of investors that I'm aware of that will never invest in your company except you have failed before, because they know there are many things that you won't have as experience except you failed. So failure is part of the experience, it's part of the journey. In fact, you are respected in Silicon Valley in certain clans and groups if you have failed or crashed a startup before, because there are lessons that you've learned in the process that someone who never had such experience will never have. So don't be afraid to fail. That's what I'm telling you. All right, I think I've answered this. Mrs. Agumadu, can you help me? Is there anything in the chat section that requires my attention?
No, sir, not at all, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. Ms. Ngozi around? Okay. All right, so some few announcements here before we close. So this series continues next week, same time, Tuesday, 2 p.m. If there's going to be any change, we'll let you guys know that very crucially. Then we'd like you guys to join the EduStart community so you can get real-time information. There are many things going on at EduStart that we might not be able to share here. And so we are trying to, set up and have everyone in the community so we can always make information available just to members of the community. So we don't have to just be putting general things on social media, but just those within the EduStart community, because we have plans for everyone who will be in that community. Many things that we would like to provide free, which we actually charge for. Just like what we're doing right now. What we're doing is deliberate for a particular reason. We hope we can increase the number of those who become high-growth entrepreneurs in Nigeria, and we have a time frame. Many things that we're doing here. We're also working with a couple of universities to ensure that their students also become the best that they can be, think entrepreneurial, and make things that really matter, and create fortune for themselves, the universities, and their country. So join the EduStart community. I don't know if Ms. Agumado, can you help to get the link to that? I think it is bit.ly. Is it bit.ly?
Yes, it's
on the
community. Sorry?
It's already in the chat.
Oh, perfect. That's you. Good to have you.
Yeah.
Great, good. So everyone, please look at the chat section. You'll find the links to the EduStart community there. Good. Thanks, Ngozi, for doing that. For universities represented here, you can bring EduStart to your school. You can refer to that email, send an email there indicating your interest in having EduStart come over to your university. I'll be glad to take things up from there and take you guys, like head on. And for directors of entrepreneurship, I'm here. We can always support in helping to achieve your own dreams of cultivating high-growth entrepreneurs in your university. That would be a good reputation for your university and also for the nation as a whole. You can also sign up for the EduStart Reach and to get help and support to move you from intention to execution and to creating your own venture. Ngozi has also put that in the chat section. That's the EduStart Global / the next billion. You can get that there. What else? You can become a volunteer at EduStart. Ngozi, can you give an email for volunteers to use? Is it maybe contact at or learn at? Maybe you can put about 3 emails there, including partnership. So please refer to the chat section. You'll find about 3 emails or so that you can, if you want to be volunteer at EduStart, to do a couple of things, to also build your track record, particularly for students who are trying to build a track record for themselves. We have opportunities for you that you can do that. Also follow EduStart on social media at EduStart Global, whether on Twitter, whether on Instagram or LinkedIn. You can refer to us there. All right, Ngozi, have I any other announcement?
No, sir. I just I think it's been nice for us to hear from one or two persons and what they learn.
Okay.
Please let us know, feel the flow within the those that are registered for the webinar. Let's hear from them. Please, one or two persons to tell us what they think.
Okay, so you can go ahead and ask.
Okay, so if you have anything to okay, thank you, sir, for the wonderful session. So I enjoyed it. So for everyone that has actually listened to the commentaries, I would just like to hear like an outspoken feedback from one or two persons. So if you have anything to say concerning what you've learned today, maybe a striking insight shared by Dr. P, just you can just use the raise hand button and then we'll allow you to speak. Thank you. Okay, so I can see 2 persons' hands. Okay, yeah. Fisayo, please go ahead to talk.
All right, thank you so much.
Hello, Fisayo.
Thank you so much. Am I audible?
Yes, you can. Please go ahead.
All right, amazing. So today's session was really filled with a lot of things. I'll just give 1 minute or 30-second summary of my key takeaways from it. The first is Dr. Stevens' inclusion of knowledge as a factor of production and the entrepreneur as the distinction between the entrepreneur and the high growth entrepreneur. And what makes this person is his ability to meditate, like his dominant consciousness on that future benefits that he wants to bring by creating a product or a service rather than the cost, the present cost. The second key takeaway was how to change my mindset. That's my circle, the 5 people I frequently interact with, and the content I expose myself to. Associating with highly entrepreneurial people, not thinking like a coward, and him showing us the case study of entrepreneurs, Nigerian entrepreneurs, went on to build great businesses despite difficult times, citing Push TV's transition to Piggyvest and Sheyi and the Sheyi story with the Lemonade Company. So those were my key takeaways, and the fact that he answered my question about like my motive for reading content. It shouldn't be because I want to accumulate information, but because there's a problem I want to use that knowledge to solve immediately. So that I don't get. Thank you. It was an.
Thank you very much, Fiskaya. That was really amazing. That commentary was really amazing. I'm sure a number of people quite agree with that. Okay, so we have the second person, Mr. Babatunde Abi. Please, you can go ahead.
Okay.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
You here?
Good afternoon. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you very much. Like I said earlier, I missed the first session which held last week. Immediately I was able to join this. Within a few minutes, I think I realized what I must have missed for not attending last week's program, which was due to some other major circumstances like I explained to you. But straight to the point, I think Dr. Stephen is an amazing character. He's doing amazing things. When I joined and they started explaining the mindset thing is something we have discussed, is something a lot of people are aware of, but the dimension he came, or the dimension he used to explain today was quite new to me, the way he started the whole thing. And I was almost lost when he started using the Maslow hierarchy of need to explain the entrepreneurship, the entrepreneurial mindset. It's quite amazing. I think I'm not, I wouldn't say there is a particular takeaway. I think I took everything away. Or everything he said, I took them away because they are germane things, and it's a program I'm going to encourage all my students here to join. Last week they couldn't because a lot of them were hadn't resumed. So just resumed, and I think it's an amazing thing. Dr. Stephen, thank you so very much for what you are doing for mankind. May God continue to enrich and bless you. Thank you very much.
Amen. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. That was really a welcome insight and suggestion you made. We're so happy. We're happy to even hear from your students and hoping they will join us in the next session. So if you check the comment, the chat box, I've put in the YouTube channel for us to view all our sessions we've been having over time, even the one for last week. If you missed it, you can see check through this link shared in the chat box. Also, it will be made available on our Telegram group. So I really want to emphasize on that Telegram group. So can you all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear.
Am I
I
audible?
can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, you're audible.
Okay, good. Okay. So for the Telegram group, which is called the EduStart Learn community, so it's a community where we'll be getting to know more about ourselves. We'll be getting to know everyone would introduce the industry they're in, and then by so doing, we share opportunities to you related to whatever specific industry you're looking out for. Also, book materials, like you mentioned earlier, some resources that would help you through your entrepreneurial journey and your startup process that will be shared to you. And you can also have like one-on-one coach meetings with Dr. Steven. So if you have questions and you need responses to them, that's one way you can actually get that response from him. So it's a community for us to learn from each other. It's a community to collaborate. You can meet other people that also share the same ideas of you do, and then from there you might even get an investor or what the case might be. So I know Dr. Steven has a lot of relationship portfolio. I'll use that word. And so it would be nice for you to glean from that if you're part of this community. So I just want to encourage each and every one of us. The link is in the chat box, bit.ly/EduStartLearn community. So please be a part of it and look forward to the things that will be announced in that community. Thank you all so much. It was really great to have you all here. Dr. Stevens, over to you.
I'm actually done, so you can go ahead and close. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so thank you, everyone. I guess we've come to the end of the session. I'll be looking forward to seeing you all in our group. So, and then yes, also for the book, if you still need it, I will also make available. The link is also there for you to see. So please be a part of this journey, and we hope that in time to come, we'll be seeing great and amazing things happening in your life. And encourage to tell other persons. So the lessons you're learning from here, don't just keep it to yourself. Please share to your friends, to your colleagues, to your schoolmates, and all of that, so that they can be part of this journey too. Thank you, and have an amazing day. Okay, say bye for now.